was probably the shyest guy in school, and one of the reasons was I had a birth defect with my eyes, and they used to jump really really bad, and it made me very very self conscious. I loved to play sports, did a lot of playing, out in the yard with baseball, football, and basketball, and I just wasn't good at it. And I did all right with football, but I didn't do good with baseball, and that was my sport. I love baseball. But anyway, I think that gave me somewhat of an inferiority complex. I'm going to do a thing on marriage. Marriage is made in heaven. And my wife and I are two completely different people. She's an extrovert. I'm an introvert. And I didn't like to stand up before the class. I didn't like to do oral book reports. I didn't like to have to give any kind of things audibly. And so, you say, I can't believe you do this. You've been preaching 54 years. God made a difference in my life, but I was so shy. I would walk around with my head down all the time, and I found out that didn't pay. One day we were walking out of the schoolyard, and I was with several people and had my head down, not looking more at my feet than I was anywhere else, because I didn't have a good, real self-confidence. Ran right into a tree. I decided right then and there, this wasn't the thing to do. It's time to change your way of living. It's kind of painful. My brother helped me a lot. He's like I said, he's a Christian counselor, and he's my older brother. But one of the things that I've made a habit of doing, and he told me to do the same thing, is have eye contact. When you walk in the store, you speak to people. I've come out of that shell of being so much self-conscious. My eyes have gotten better. They say that they don't ever get better, this particular thing that I've got. But mine has gotten better, and I'm sure that God did that. But when I walk in the store, I am smiling, I am sharing, I'm talking to people, shaking hands with people. We were in a restaurant the other day, and because we've been doing this for a lot of our life, I know we had 8 or 10 people come to us and sit by our table while we were actually sitting down to eat, and it was such a blessing. I mean, we didn't care if we ate or not. We got such a blessing by folks coming around and loving on us. And they'll do that to you too. You may be lonely. You may be shy. You may not do well in the crowds. I still don't like crowds all that much, but I function better in them. And one of the things I was really having a great deal of difficulty with in my life was, as a pastor, somebody would die. I hated to go into the house and try to deal with the people after that person died. And it was just so hard for me. And it was amazing that after years of doing that God made me a hospice chaplain, and we probably had 100 people die while I was working with them in 6 years. And I'd walk into houses where I didn't know any of the people. And I'd be nervous. I tell you what, I'd be nervous. And the more nervous I get, the more my eyes jump. So anyway, I'd be just as nervous as I could be. And I'd get on the inside, and God kind of take over. Things would get better. But I was so shy. My wife's brothers, I started when we started dating. I came out here, and we'd sit down in the living room, and they'd talk and talk and talk. And they asked her, said, what's wrong with him? He don't ever talk. Well, the reason I didn't talk was in those days, I didn't have the confidence in myself at all. Or the confidence in God as far as that goes. I knew about him, but I didn't know him personally. But I've learned, and it's one of the things Billy, my brother, told me. He said, go into a store or go into a place of business, wherever you go, look at people. You'll never know when you look at one person, it may change your life. I know when I'd go out and knock on doors and visitation, and all these are strange people to me, I would go out and touch somebody and hold their hand and pray with them. And oftentimes they'd tell me, said, God must have sent you by today. You're just what I needed. I've had phone calls like that. I was in a hospital not in Moore County, but in Charlotte, I think is where it was. And while we were there, people would come in, and I'd speak to them, and Jimmy Burns, my other son, was with me, and he said, Pop, do you know everybody? I said, I don't know any of them. I'm just talking to them. So what I'm telling you, if you're a wallflower like I was, there's hope. You can be a part of the crowd, and I'm not talking about the crowd that does bad things. I'm just talking about going up and being able to socialize, look at people, look them in the eye, care about them. It's all right to smile. It won't hurt at all. Just share that smile once in a while, speak to them, and you never know who that person is you speak to that will absolutely change their life. So please, whatever you do, when you go out tomorrow, the next time you go out, and you see people, you wave at them, you talk to them, take time with them. You're not so busy that you can't stop a little bit and fellowship with people as they go through life. There's somebody out there that's hurting, that's having a tremendous degree of difficulty in their life. They may be grieving, they may have lost loved ones, they may have a fatal disease that they got, they're not going to survive from it. It could be other things that's going on in their life. But they need to see somebody that actually cares. And you'd be surprised. I've seen people that look like they can bite your head off. Don't even speak to them. Some of them don't. I mean, I speak to people. Sometimes they don't speak back to me. I've always tried to be a gentleman all my life. And when I worked with the American office, I had to carry typewriters in and out of businesses and stores and places like that. And I many times have held that typewriter in my arm and opened the door. And a woman will come in and won't say thank you or anything. I oftentimes have said, "You're welcome," and they'll turn around and say, "Thank you." But, we get so involved with what's going on with our own life, our own burdens, our own problems that we don't think about there's somebody else out there that's hurting or in worse shape than I'm in. You never know who that person is that you may change your life just, again, by being friendly, sharing a smile, trying to touch them, encourage them. As I said, I was no doubt one of the shyest guys in school. And God has allowed me to preach for 55 years. I've gone to a lot of places where it would be difficult to go. I've gone in places where they didn't want me to go. I've had churches where they wanted to just, let's get a list, take a vote, get rid of him. So I've been in the ministry. I've been hurt by some of the things that have gone on. My first ministry was a hard ministry. And I walk upon guys, make me a deacon, we'll get rid of him. It's hard to smile in those situations. And for years, I fought with depression and oppression. But one of the things that's really truly helped me is I try to wear a smile. And I'll never forget one day, one of the ladies I've worked with at American office, and I hadn't seen her in years. I went up and spoke to her and gave her a hug. And the other lady didn't know me from Adam's house cat. And she said, "You're a preacher. I can tell by your smile you're a preacher." Well, you don't have to be a preacher to smile. Somebody needs to see a little bit of sunshine in their life. Go out and radiate a little bit. Let people see that inside of this heart of yours is a care for loving people. And I think one of the greatest gifts that God has given me is I love people. And I love to be around them, and I love to help them. And I try and do I help them all? No, it's impossible. Some people you can try and never be able to help them. Others will reach out and take everything you're offering them, draw it close to the heart, and become changed people. So please, remember, you can be a part. You don't have to stand back, sit back, wait on somebody else. You don't have to pull your chair to the farthest part of the room so you're not actually part of the talking that's going on. Make a difference in your life. You're the only one that can do that. And just decide, hey, I'm going to go out and try to make somebody feel a little bit better tomorrow. I'm going to go out and speak to them. And if I get a chance, and often when I'm in line, and if it's going to be a long line, I have a chance to share my testimony and tell folks what God's done for me. Hey, that puts a smile of heaven on your face. I mean, hey, gave me 30 minutes to live, and I'm still here 30 years later. When I have to take my leg, and I'm still walking on it. So I'm telling you, God does do some really good things, and He'll help you, and you may change a person's life. I never will forget, I was so depressed, so discouraged, so defeated. I didn't care if I lived or died. It was one of those days. And I was riding down Mill Road in Rockingham, and came by a road that was called Dawkins Street. And God impressed me and said, "Pull your car over and stop and go up and down the street and talk to people." And so I did. And the first place I got to, I asked the guy, I said, "Can I park in your yard till I get back? I'm going to walk the street and just say hey to the people." And I'll talk to him for a while as well. The second house I went to, there was a guy there, and he was in a wheelchair, one of the little electric carts. He had been apparently paralyzed and had a stroke. I don't know what it was, but he had to have a chair to get around. But he was delighted to see somebody come in. So we sat down, we talked, we laughed, we cut up. He just had the best time, and it was a great day. And he said, I've been sick for a while, and this happens, and we don't mean to do that, but the church, after a while, you're out of church for so long, they kind of forget about you. They don't mean to do that. It's an oversight. But we get involved with other problems and other things going on in our lives as well, and we forget. And he said, they've forgotten me. And I told him, I said, "Sir, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm gonna send some of our men by to come visit with you, so you at least feel like you got some folks that care about you and love you." And I said, "If you ever need me, you just let me know." And I left that day, and I went down 2 houses beyond that place and met another guy that became a friend for the rest of his life. I ended up preaching both these guys' funerals. But old Bill Shue was a tremendous friend of mine, and he was a great woodworker. That guy could do anything with his hands, and we became tremendous friends. Just loved him to pieces, and he always called me not Brother David, he called me Brother David. And that was some of the last things he said to me. He called me Brother David, and just blessed my heart. But anyway, the next week, it was the day before cell phones came out, and I had a pager, and the pager went off, and I went over to see what it was and called my daughter. My daughter was calling me. She said, "Daddy, they need you to come to Dawkins Street," and she gave me the address. And I went to Dawkins Street, and I went to the very second house, the first one I actually got in and talked to a guy for a period of time. I noticed on that house there was a wreath. And this little guy who was so despondent and so broken because his church didn't come to see him got such a blessing the week before. And he was so happy, and he was so excited about going home to be with Jesus and meeting new Christian friends, and somebody actually cared about him. As David said, no man cared for my soul. We proved that night that we actually did care about him, and he had died, and I did do his funeral. I would later, some 7 or 8 years later, do the second guy that I met that day on Dawkins Street. But the problem was not their problem, it was my problem. I was so burdened down with oppression and oppression, depression, I couldn't hardly go. And God changed that. Now, I'm not going to say I didn't have depression after that day, because I still battled with it at that time. Now, he lifted me from depression, and I haven't had any since then, hoping to never have any more, because it's a living hell on earth. But God had plans for me. And he said, I want you to see somebody and get your mind off yourself. If you're battling with oppression, the attacks of Satan, or depression, sometimes the problem is within you, and you the only one can handle that. You the only one can come out of it. God will help you, but you got to help yourself. And God chose that day to send me down a street where I'd meet two folks that would be a blessing to me all the rest of their life. But here's the key. Here's the key. Not only were they a blessing to me, God allowed me to be a blessing to them. Why don't you go out and find somebody that's hurting, tell them you care about them and love them. I would appreciate that. Remember, we don't have to be shy and reserved, the wallflower. We can get out and love people, and in the process of loving people, they will love you. In the process of loving your God, God will send you to folks who need you the most. And I can't tell you the probably hundreds of times that I've been out, and again, they would say, I'm so glad you came today. You made such a difference to me. You have been sent by God this day. I went into a home one day, and I was talking to a guy, and they lived close to where I was, and time I went, and he grabbed my hand, and he just put one of those squeezes on it, and just that great big smile of heaven, and he said, you led my mama to the Lord. I still to this day don't know who his mama is, but this guy saw there's somebody that cares about other people. That's what I want you to do. You take care now. Love you. May God bless you and guide your steps. Bye now.